Hi, this is Abul Hussain coming to you direct from London, the United Kingdom, and welcome to another episode of the SMMA Mastermind podcast, where we talk about how you can start or scale your digital marketing agency. And we also bring on subject matter experts who can help to upskill us. Now, if you are watching this episode outside of our Facebook group, make sure to find the link above or below this video, or go to smmamastermind.com, especially if you're in the agency community. Now, with that out of the way, I have a very special guest joining me all the way from New Jersey. His name is Marko Albrecht, and he is the founder of Essential Creative Agency. And what we are going to talk about today is why your business's why is so important in shaping your marketing strategy. Marko, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Abdul. I appreciate it. And greetings from New Jersey in the New York City area, where it's finally warming up. You know, it's like 55 and sunny, but there's still a nice level of snow on the ground. So yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining me. Now, for the people who might not know who you are, how about a little bit of an introduction?
Sure. Well, my name is Marko Albrecht, as Abdul said, and I'm a small business owner, entrepreneur, and I've been telling stories with video basically my whole life. I come from a family that was, my mom was a photographer. My dad's an architect. He was he's still with the city of Chicago for many years, and he's in Chicago. So I grew up with this, analytical process of an architect and the photography, creative vision. And she was a writer as well. And my grandfather, who's a journalist, and my other grandfather was in sales. So I think when you can mix those all together, you kind of get a nice idea of where I come from. I started grabbing a video camera very young, the old school. I'm old school. I'm dating myself, but the video cameras were this big, and we were starting to make films when I was 14, 13, making short films and running around my neighborhood, making little skits. And, we were the jackasses, right? Remember that show, Jackass? And we were doing all kinds of stupid stuff, making films. And that led to, reaching out to schools where I played soccer, football in university out here. And, I majored in media arts, so learned more about the technical process and, the analytical side of everything. And then started a company after work. I worked in TV and film for a while, as a network called Trio, worked on a couple films, Spider-Man 3, worked as an assistant for this guy, 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝘀. He's on Bravo. So I was in the film and TV industry for a while, working my way up, laterally, sideways. You start as a production assistant, you work up. And I was very, I guess, egotistical is a nice way to put it. It's hard to do that as a production assistant. So I think out of spite towards other people, I started my own company, which, at the same time, I loved it, right? I loved creating, and I started a video production company in 2017, which became a small, basically digital marketing consulting company and boutique agency. And we've been around for, 13, 14 years now.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. So obviously, you kind of, cut your teeth in filming at a very, very young age. And now you've got your agency kind of. So coming onto the subject of this podcast, having a why for your business, why does that actually matter?
Well, to me, the why matters first, because if a company doesn't understand its culture, then how is a customer going to understand that culture? So the why really comes from us, right? As a business owner, or as a president or a CEO or the C-class, C-suite, we establish the why. And then from there, the customers understand, or the clients or whatever you want to target understands your mission. And that comes through much easier. And it's authentic, right? It's authentic to tell a story with video. If you're just, like some of the old advertising executives, just be like, let the story tell the message. Like let the message come through with the story, honesty. And when we're authentic and you have emotional attachment to somebody through your honesty, it's a much more, authentic connection than trying to persuade somebody into something you're not. So I believe establishing the why really comes from, the purpose of the company first, and then that will come through in the video content or any content you create, any digital marketing you create, any efforts, any advertising. There needs to have an authentic emotional connection.
Hmm. And I understand that, a lot of brands, a lot of businesses, they have like an about page or a mission page on their website. Now, how do you translate a business's why into something that is marketable or a part of a marketing strategy?
Well, right, content is key. Content is king. At the same time, the why can be a different experience for different people, right? So if you have an about page, if you're looking at a website about page, like a landing page, how do you convert that to a marketable strategy? Well, I'm trying to think of a way to explain that in a way that, the why is there's always different segments of customers, correct? Like
Mhm.
everybody, so there might be somebody who connects to the why. And it's just a matter of finding the right customer, the
Right.
right person at the right time based off of that messaging. So there's, how many different types of customers out there that may uh, relate to your why and maybe somebody else won't. So there's not everybody's going to understand the core messaging, but that's not the target market.
Right.
And it's just about being authentic and being true to the core story, the messaging, the about of whatever company it is that comes through, and then you can pivot off of that and create a
Mhm.
bunch of different content, videos, stories, social media,
Right.
and maybe find influencers who work in that space as well.
Right. So you're really trying to connect with people who resonate with the values that you have as a company, as a brand, and those are the people who are obviously who this will be important to. It might not be everyone that you're reaching, but it's going to be your ideal prospects, I suppose, who resonate with the why, and they transact with you.
Right. I mean, I don't think you can't please everybody all the time, correct? And
Mm.
you have to have, the core base of customers or clients, whatever that may be, is going to be your repeating customers. They're going to be the ones who are coming back to you, or the ones who, let's say, in hospitality or health and wellness, or you know, say for instance, a treatment center industry, recovery industry, where people are trying to get help. They're suffering from addiction per se. There's an authentic, legitimate reason they're looking for somebody in that space. And if they relate more to, one particular treatment center than the other, a lot of that has to do with the branding, the imagery, but the why is the same. Those treatment centers are there to help people. And the same with restaurants and
Mhm.
hospitality. There's Italian restaurants, right? Like it's the simplest thing. If you're looking for an Italian restaurant, you're going to go to an Italian restaurant, and it's not like you're going to go to a Mexican restaurant. I mean, it's that's simple breakdown. But I guess when you're talking about like software as a service, marketing in that space is still a little bit. I think it's more of a growth marketing, growth hacking, and
Mhm.
kind of getting the first users to talk about it, and getting those forward thinking people to jump on it to spread the word. So I think word of mouth is also important, because if people are talking about your brand or your company and they're telling other people about it, that's really valuable. That's one of the most valuable ways to get the message out there. And that's kind of what influencer market, that's what people hope influencer marketers do, right? Is talk about a brand, talk about a service, talk about an airline, right? We've done some work with some aviation companies, and if the service at a private airport is so good for one CEO, he's going to tell the rest of his CEOs, and you can't beat that. So that comes back to the why. Like, why is this company better? And the people who work there really, who run this operation, have to exemplify those traits,
Mhm.
of customer first. And I think that comes back to me working with this group in New York City for a while. I mean, they treated everybody who walked through one of their 15 restaurants and lounges and bars in New York as, their best customer.
Right.
And those people, a lot of time, they came back. And I try to do the same thing with anybody who I talk to or consult with or work with. Anybody who comes to us for videos or social media content, we try to treat them on the same level we would treat somebody with a $10,000 budget or $100,000 budget. It's, we have to approach that with respect, and we love what we do. And I think, as a guy like you, you're creating your original content. You want people to understand your why is, you want people to understand this more, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So I suppose kind of looking at, okay, it's one thing getting the why, and I suppose how do you then translate that into assets for social media or for video? Because you can have a whole background story, how do you distill it into a medium that is digestible easily by your prospects?
Well, there's a routine. There's like a 12-step kind of process that we use. I mean, it's not proprietary. I'm sure everybody uses the process, right? Like research and development up front. You work with the client or whoever we're working with. A lot of times we're working now with like life coaches and people who are telling a lot of people everybody needs content now, right? So you find out what their why is, you modify that down, and you write some perspective ideas out, and then you come up with a plan, you produce it, you create it, right? You shoot it, you get a team together. I mean, there's a process. Then you take that, and if it's content, if it's photos, or if it's video, you try to get a little bit of everything, and then you come up with a schedule. At the end of the day, who's consuming the content really comes first. If a guy like you is going to be the target market, the content will be different than if it was someone who has no understanding of what the process is. I mean, you seem educated and well known about marketing. Like the target market for, let's say, a life coach for your consumption might be slightly different than somebody who's hurting and really having a miserable life experience.
Right, of course. I suppose looking at someone's backstory, I suppose often people kind of see the why as a backstory, and what motivated them to get into business. What do you think are the core elements that makes a good why statement or a backstory?
Well, what are they bringing to the world, right? In a sense, like there's this startup conference in Finland called Slush, and it's like they want to change the world, and that's such a big statement. But at the same time, I believe that's kind of like the core of every entrepreneur's big vision, is they want to bring something to the world that's a little different. So if you can find, obviously there's a backstory, the life story, and how they got into the industry, or whatever their industry is. What are they bringing that's different than their competitors? Why is the experience different? What is so unique about this experience? All those, the who, what, when, where, why. But at the end of the day, I think it's about what the feelings that the customer or the client will experience. And when they're in that moment, how is that story they're living through going to translate into, kind of coming back? And I think that's the most important thing for what I've learned over the years is, establishing a good relationship is the most paramount thing. Like I think for me to establish a good relationship with somebody and continue to grow that's, much more important than trying to convert a new customer, because it's obviously cheaper as well, right? To convert the existing person into doing more. So I think back to your question was, I think there's multiple ways to figure out with the client or the customer of what their why is if they don't have one already.
Yeah,
And
that was going to be my next question.
Right.
A lot of people, they're in business because they had to find a way to make money, and their father was a carpenter and now they're a carpenter, right? How do you go about, and I oversimplify this obviously, how do you go about finding the why for people who are already in business, who obviously when they started out, the why didn't matter because they just needed to make money?
Well, I mean, there's honesty, right? I mean, everybody has to pay the bills, and I don't think, coming out and telling the customer we're here to make money off of you. But at the same time, most people who are in an entrepreneurial part of their life, or who are entrepreneurs, have some type of passion for it. I mean, even if it's money focused, there's at the end of the day, I believe, about my experiences, most entrepreneurs have some sort of passion for what they're doing. Otherwise, it's too hard, right? To be an entrepreneur, to do something for an extended period of time and be successful at it, and then even get to the marketing, creating content. Like, I just believe that people do have a why. I mean, everybody has a why. If you don't have a why, you're probably not an entrepreneur. I mean, you're probably not a small business owner. It's just otherwise you would be, working some hourly job, 9 to 5, that you go in and you're nothing wrong with that, but you don't have the ability to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, right? Or whatever you want to call it, and really go to work as an entrepreneur, because it's not always easy. I mean, even as a small business owner, just the last year, right? Like COVID completely destroyed hundreds and thousands of small businesses, entrepreneurs' dreams across the world. And how do some of these guys live through that? I mean, just that alone, right? Like anybody could find a why. If they still have a business that's in operation today, just look over the last year. That could be a lot of people's whys. Like, why did you keep your business going over the last year?
So, Marko, final question for you. If, someone is watching this and they're thinking about, well, I'm not sure what my why is, what process can they actually go through to, or what, if you were working with them, what process would you take them through to find that why, and how would you then turn it into a marketing strategy?
It's a good question. And for me, I'm a spiritual person. So, a lot of times every morning I still meditate, and I pray and I meditate on finding my why for that day. So I know that's, spirituality and business don't always mix, but at the same time, I think it needs to come from a deeper sense of connection and a deeper sense of purpose. Like I said, there's a process of sort of research and development that we can go through with a client. I would go through, speak to them on the phone, get to know them, maybe go spend some time with them, understand them, really dissect their business, their values, their life values. How does that affect what they're doing? And what finding someone's why, I believe, is simpler than it maybe appears. And anybody can find their why. It's a matter of just kind of taking some quiet time, getting deep within themselves, and being aware of what they're doing, right? And why are they, how they get there to begin with? What's their goals and aspirations, and who are their customers, and why are their customers coming back to them? I mean, it's simpler. Like, the less is more. And I think if you can simplify it, you'll find your why.
And I suppose on a tactical level, you found your why. What do you do with it now?
Well, what is the mission? Do you want a one-page, landing page on your website? Are you trying to convert people to an Amazon store? Are you a life coach? You need to reach people. Like, where do you reach people? Where's the customer? Where are you going to get your customers? Is it traditional marketing? I mean, are we going to run commercials? It's a variety of content out there. There's so much content. And I think the key is creating compelling content, telling your story, and making sure that it's at the right avenue of where your client will be, and doing that consistently. And that is the key, right? It's like, now there's so much out there for a customer or to engage with, that based off of what I've seen and I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, that especially now, it's just overwhelming amount of options for people. And no matter what field you're in, there's options, right? No matter what industry you're trying, there's people competing with you. There's a lot of competition. So I think it's a matter of obviously having the why, the story, and then, if there's the actionable items, right? Is it a website? Is it social media? Is it video content? Is it, direct advertising, right? I mean, there's so many ways. Is it a combination of everything? What's the budget? I mean, there's how are these conversions going to happen? So there's a wide variety of options after you looking at the marketing plan and what fits into that company's vision,
Right.
or that person's vision per se.
Now, if someone wanted to find out more about what you do or connect with you, where's the best place for them to reach out to you?
Thanks. Yeah, MarkoAlbrecht.com, MarkoAlbrecht.com. And, I have a social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, and my Facebook at Marko Albrecht, MarkoAlbrecht.
On that note, Marko, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Abdul. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's nice talking to you.